opening night in Toronto, Dave Steve provided the heat. 8 shutout innings, 3 hits allowed, and 8 strikeouts for the Blue Jay right-hander. The fastball and slider were there, and so too was a devastating curveball. Even George Brett wasn't immune. He was caught looking by Steve once, although he did go 3 for 4. 2 of the hits off Steve, including this first inning double. Today, trying to go up 2-0 on their way to Kansas City, the Blue Jays go with lefty Jimmy Key. Trying to get even, Dick Howser sends southpaw Bud Black to the mound. Game 2 is next on NBC.
Jimmy Key is the Toronto starter late in the season. Last 10 days or so, he was bothered by a groin pull. Is he okay now?
He appears to be pitched against the Yankees on Friday, although he had about a 4 or 5 day extra rest. Little cut fastball, little slow curve. He'll go against Bud Black, and some of the scouts from the Cardinals, Mo Mazzelli, Timmy Thompson, who've been scouting these Royals, said he threw the ball very well and inside in that ballgame, which was a success.
So Jimmy Key for Toronto, Bud Black for Kansas City. The starting lineups for Game 2 when we return to Exhibition Stadium in Toronto in just a moment.
I'm Buck Martinez, catcher for the Toronto Blue Jays. This is today's Kansas City Royals lineup. The keys to this ball club for us is to keep George Brett from hitting with men on base. We have to keep Lonnie Smith and Willie Wilson off the base paths because George Brett's going to get his hits. Another key is Hal McCrae. He's in the lineup today against left-hander Jimmy Key. When McCrae was placed in the lineup as a designated hitter, George Brett became hot because he had to get a little bit better pitches because McCrae was producing. So the key today is make sure we keep Wilson and Smith off the bases.
Well, George Brett went 3 for 4 last night, but the only time he batted with a man on, it was the 9th inning, and the score was already 6-0.
Interesting to see if they can get on the board in a hurry and take some of the pressure off Bud Black and manager Dick Howser. You humanize those numbers, they start wearing you down after so many postseason losses consecutively. Jimmy Key, well, quite a story. In '84, he was a non-roster player in the spring training, made the staff primarily in relief. This spring, when he came to the spring training camp down in Dunedin, Florida, he was really the 5th starter, but during the season, he moved up to the number 3 spot and sometimes number 2 in consistency.
Swing and a miss by Lonnie Smith to open it up. Key is 24 years old, a native of Huntsville, Alabama. And that's where his 14-6 mark ranks him for the season in winning percentage. Saberhagen will start Game 3 for the Royals. Took a little off, and he's ahead 0-2.
I'm certain there was no clubhouse meeting after just 1 loss in postseason play, but I think all the players from the Royals will take it upon themselves, and Lonnie Smith just swung through a couple of good pitches, to be aggressive with the bats. Let's get on the board in a hurry.
Fastball hit to short. Fernandez throws him out.
So Tony Fernandez finally gets an assist in postseason play. Ball game last night, he handled the ball just 1 time. A 3-6, a putout. So with all right-handers except Brett, 2 switch hitters in the lineup for Howser, he may come into play because Jimmy Key runs the fastball away and sinks it. Maybe some ground balls to the left side.
Number 6, Willie Wilson.
Willie Wilson went 1 for 4 last night. He had a 9th inning single. Stole only 43 bases this year. I say only because it's Willie Wilson, usually good for 60 to 70 a season.
Garthorne's down at third base, even from the right side with that great speed of Wilson's. Look where he's playing. He's giving him the line, going to cut down that hole between him and Fernandez, but he's taking the bunt away.
2-0 to Willie Wilson.
It was sunny up until about 15 minutes ago. Now it is clouding up. It was supposed to rain a little bit more later on today.
He falls behind 3-0 with Brett on deck.
With that wind coming off Lake Ontario, it's blowing from left to right today. You don't know what the weather pattern is going to be here. That outfield is slick from the rain, Bob. The ball is scoot.
A called strike. That's something few people realize. They know about the high bounces and how line drives can go between outfielders into the wall on artificial surface. But when it's wet, it poses a different problem. That's just barely foul. The ball will hit in front of you and just scoot wildly.
Well, to be a good artificial surface defensive team, and the Blue Jays are that, you've got to have speed at almost all positions, especially in the outfield. But when you've got a wet turf in the field, you better be quick. In fact, some of these outfielders will be told by Cito Gaston to play a little deeper to cut down the gaps.
3-2 pitch. A line drive into left center. Bell gets over and prevents it from getting in the gap. A wide turn by Wilson, and he holds with a single.
Just what we were talking about. George Bell's speed became very evident last night when in the first inning he challenged the arms on a high bouncer. He went to third on a ball to Balboni, drew an errant throw. And here he comes and shuts off the gap in left center field on Willie Wilson. Wilson thought he had a sure double, not for the speed of Bell and the throwing arm.
Buck Martinez said it. The key is to keep Brett from batting with men on base. With the game in doubt last night, and it wasn't in doubt long, Brett never came up with anyone aboard. Now he has Wilson at first with 1 out.
He either twisted his knee again, which has been bad, he's had surgery, or he hurt his back. Little side pull. We may see when he comes up to bat. Jimmy Key looks out and he waved to him and said, "I'm okay." Little twinge in the back. It looks like her side, huh, Bob?
Still trying to walk it off. Strike one to Brett.
Sometimes your rubber-soled cleats get caught, and when the ball pops out of his glove, he has to make a quick move early in the ball game. He threw the ball hard. Jimmy Key holds runners on pretty well. He had a bad habit early in the year. The Cleveland Indians and Pat Corrales took advantage of it. When he moves very slowly to first base, the base stealers, Brett Butler in particular, kept on going, and he would make it into second base because the first baseman couldn't get the throw there in time. They have sped his move up to first base now.
1-1. The plate umpire is Dale Ford. Jim Evans is at first. Ted Hendry at second. Vic Voltaggio at third. Darrell Cousins down the left field line, and last night's plate umpire Dave Phillips in right field. Good off-speed pitch, 1-2.
Jimmy Key throws a slider, a slow overhand curve that he will use on right-handed hitters. This is more of a slurve, a bigger breaking ball.
Garcia, he'll have to hurry to turn it. They get the force, and that's all.
George Brett trying to get a ball up into the wind to right center or right field, and Jimmy Key took a little off on the breaking ball, and George hit it on the end of the bat. Watch Willie Wilson go after Tony Fernandez. Fernandez gets the throw away and gets out of the way. He's very acrobatic, like Ozzie Smith is down at second base. On the pivot, Garcia gets the lead runner. Illegal slide technically, but that rule is bent a lot.
Hal McCrae, showing no ill effects of that pulled muscle in his side, singles up the middle. Brett to second with 2 out.
Now, McCrae has not taken batting practice for 11 days. He did not again today. He is in pain. He played through that injury that came on gradually after a bad back.
He played in the first game of that series against the Angels last Monday night, where the Royals won 3 out of 4 and in effect took the division, and didn't play the rest of the season. He also went home for a few days because his mother-in-law passed away. So it's been a tough week for Hal McCrae trying to play through the pain, and obviously if this were a regular season game, he wouldn't be in there. Frank White moved up to the number 5 spot against a left-hander.
In fact, Bob, Mickey Cobb, the Royals trainer, said if this were a regular season game, middle of the year, he would be disabled. He shouldn't be out there. Hal figures he's got all winter to rest. Of course, there's no DH in the World Series this year if the Royals go that far.
Up with it is Orge. He goes to the bag himself, and that'll do it. So the Royals manage a couple of hits, and they strand 2. No score after half an inning in Toronto. The lineup Bud Black will face is identical to the one that beat Charlie Leibrandt last night. Damaso Garcia at second base. Lloyd Mosby in center field. George Bell, who had 2 hits last night, is in left. Cliff Johnson is again the DH. Jesse Barfield in right field. Willie Upshaw at first base. Garth Orge at third base. Early exit last night when they pinch hit Mullenix for him. Ernie Witt will catch. And Tony Fernandez is the shortstop and number 9 hitter.
Behind Bud Black, Lonnie Smith in left field again. Willie Wilson in center. Darryl Motley's right-handed bat. He replaces Sheridan defensively. George Brett, Buddy Biancalana. Frank White, running that ball out, looked like he may have injured that knee. He's had problems on the turf. Balboni at first base. Jim Sunberg, the catcher.
And on the mound, Bud Black. He's 30 years old. He began in the Seattle organization, and the Royals made a heck of a deal prior to the 1982 season when they sent the infielder Manny Castillo to Seattle in exchange for Black. Last year he was 17-12 with an ERA of 3.12. His earned runs have gone up better than a run a game, and he was 5 under 500. But he did a lot to redeem himself with that big pitching victory a week ago against California. That was the one that lifted them back into a tie with the Angels atop the American League West, and when Danny Jackson won the next night, the Royals were in the lead and they never relinquished it. Damaso Garcia has good pop for a leadoff man, a career high 65 RBIs. And a notorious first pitch swinger, as Rick Dempsey pointed out on the pregame show last night. 600 plate appearances as the leadoff man and only 15 walks. Two and two. Both these franchises have been models of the way to build a club. Kansas City was in the playoffs against the Yankees in the 8th year of their existence. And this is the 9th year for the Toronto franchise, and here they are. That's how long it took some teams. Of course, the Mets came out of nowhere. They had never finished higher than 9th, and then the miracle year of 1969. The difference with Kansas City and Toronto is that they built slowly, patiently, and inevitably toward the summit. Well hit to right field. Darryl Motley goes back, and shy of the track, he squeezes it.
Motley, who had such an outstanding year offensively, and Pat Sheridan too for the Royals, tapered off earlier this year. Then he came on a little bit with the power numbers. There really isn't a lot of home run power in this outfield for Kansas City. Most of their run production comes from the infield.
Mosby wore an 0 for 5 collar last night. Fastball for a strike.
We've talked about the balance of this Blue Jays ball club. We did last night, and 4 RBIs came from the 8 and 9 spots in last night's ball game. Ernie Witt and Tony Fernandez.
Another good hard one. 0-2. Hit weakly to second. Easy chance for Frank White, and that's the second out.
If you weren't with us last night, we made the comment that the Blue Jays decisions against left-handers 24 and 26. They were 2 games above 500 against left-handed starting pitchers, but the percentages will tell you over the long haul. Now, they may beat all of Kansas City's left-handers if Danny Jackson does start a ball game. But over the long haul, that's what the percentages look like. And this staff of left-handers for Dick Howser will tell you that they have the edge over the long haul.
In the regular season, Kansas City beat Toronto 7 times in 12 tries. All the left-handers had good success against the Blue Jays in regular season play. Leibrandt, whom they beat last night, was 3-0 lifetime against Toronto coming in. In contrast to last night's Blue Jay romp, almost all the regular season games were close. 10 of the 12 decided by 2 runs or less. 4 of them went to extra innings. 2-1.
Brett Saberhagen. Boy, they were marveling at Saberhagen's control and how much more velocity he has in his fastball. Remember, he's just a year older, and he may get even quicker when he gets to be in his mid-20s.
He's charting the pitches, of course, this afternoon. in preparation for Friday night's start. Tomorrow a travel day. A called third strike. So Bud Black has a 1-2-3 inning in the first, and after one, no score, Royals and Blue Jays. They did not sell out last night. The official attendance was a bit over 39,000, and this afternoon's crowd has to be termed disappointing, Tony.
Well, they had 47,000 against the Yankees last Friday. That's an all-time park record. I wonder if the ticket prices haven't gotten too high, and those are not set by the local teams. I believe they come out of the commissioner's office. Perhaps some of those loyal Blue Jay fans who, well, just about 2.5 million, couldn't pay the price. A lot of tickets available up to game time yesterday and today. One of the things that hurts this Blue Jays ball club is the exchange rate, which is about 35% right now. Start divvying up the money on attendance in the States and up here when they negotiate contracts. Most agents say we want it guaranteed in U.S. A lot of ramifications that hurt this ball club financially at times.
Balboni was 0 for 3 last night, struck out once. Opens the second against Jimmy Key. Key is capable of overpowering games. He took a no-hitter into the 9th inning on June 6th against the Tigers. It was broken up by a Tom Brookins single. A check swing, and it's gloved in foul ground by Garth Orge.
When you start rating third baseman defensively in this league, George Brett has good range. His throwing arm can be erratic. Wade Boggs has come along. Buddy Bell, of course, gone now. He had a rough start defensively, but put Orge's name down. Look at the range. He goes about 6-8 feet in foul territory to get the ball off the bat of Balboni.
Platoon players seldom win Gold Gloves, and it seems the consensus that it's going to be between Boggs and Brett. Two who have improved greatly with the glove, as you say, Tony. Jim Sunberg, who played for years with Buddy Bell in Texas, says that this year Brett has been Bell's equal.
And we shouldn't forget Doug DeCinces of the California Angels. He's outstanding, but he did have that back problem off and on again this year, which may have limited his mobility.
Pat Sheridan started against the right-hander Steve in right field last night. Against the lefty today, it's Motley.
Part of Jimmy Key's success is that nice, easy delivery. He's an outstanding fielder and a good athlete. Change up.
You talked about the ticket prices. We'll express this in U.S. dollars since most of our audience is in the States. In the outfield, and some of those outfield seats here in Toronto are not good seats at all. They face away from home plate because this place was not laid out for baseball. Those seats are $15. Then they go up to $20, and the box seats $25.
Give me one price for the exchange rate, the expensive one in Canadian dollars.
$33 Canadian.
Wow.
Darryl Motley is caught looking. They checked with Jim Evans down at first base.
The catcher, number 8,
Jimmy Key reached back for a little bit extra and sunk a fastball on Motley. Ernie went to make sure.
Obviously not caught looking. If he had held up, it would have been called a ball, but he went around, and that's why they checked with Evans. Boy, these day games after night games are tough. Here's Sunberg. Ball 1 to him.
I think the players, especially defensively, are happy that the sun has gone behind the clouds, because there's a screen behind home plate where there's a terrible glare where outfielders get awfully bad jumps in this park when it's sunny and day baseball. But with the clouds, a little cooler weather, there aren't those white shirts, a lot of jackets, although not as cool as last night. Sometimes on a Sunday afternoon it can be tough.
Ripped by Sunberg, but it's foul. If the sun were out right now, it would be almost directly in the eyes of center fielder Lloyd Moseby. Before the game, Bobby Cox was expressing concern about that. He says when the sun is particularly bright, he has even seen outfielders lose ground balls, ground singles up the middle that outfielders couldn't find, and they went to the wall. 2-2. Fernandez to his left. Pretty play. And he takes care of Sunberg.
Poor man's Ozzie Smith, huh? This guy can pick it.
He makes a lot of errors, 30 of them this year, but he may cover more ground than any American League shortstop.
On every other artificial surface, Tony Fernandez would be playing behind the white line, but with that hump, with the drainage pipes beneath this surface, he has learned to play in front of it. He makes an outstanding play to rob Sunberg of a base hit. The reason he plays in front of it, if he plays deeply and the ball hits that, it hops up and you get some bad bounces. Several of his earlier errors came that way.
A big hand for Cliff Johnson, always a fan favorite here. He'll see most of the duty at the DH spot since Saberhagen is the only right-handed starter Dick Howser plans to use. Gubazai in long relief. We saw him in that role last night. So Al Oliver will start on Friday against Saberhagen, and then it'll be back to Johnson. 3-0. Is he ripping?
Cox is very free, letting his guys swing. Probably as free as any manager I've seen. There's Cito Gaston, who was an outstanding outfielder with the San Diego Padres, been an all-star team as a center fielder one year, went to Atlanta. That's where Bobby Cox and he hooked up together.
Fastball hit in the air to right. Motley glides over and has it.
If you're a right-handed hitter who is strong, it's difficult not to come into this ballpark and see that short right center field fence of about 350 feet right by the Royal side, with the wind almost always blowing out to right field, and not take a shot that way. They keep running the ball away on you.
As you pointed out last night, the 330 feet listed down the right field line may be generous. It might be closer to 315 or 320.
Right down that line, and boy, the wind, prevailing wind, usually helps everything in that area.
2-0 to Barfield. Neither of these teams have guys who get a lot of walks, with the exception of Brett for Kansas City. Barfield hits with this one well to center, but Willie Wilson will catch up with it. And in fact, Brett is not a guy who waits pitchers out for walks. He got 103 walks this year simply because he was pitched around so often. In fact, 31 of those walks were intentional. So for the most part, these are free swinging teams.
And aside from those 31 that Brett got, how many were just times he went up to the plate with men on, they said, we're just not going to give him anything to hit, and they just walk him 4 times, throw 4 balls, and yet they're not counted as intentional walks. A lot, I would bet.
Black has retired the first 5 men he's faced. Ball 1 to Upshaw.
These two staffs were 1 and 2 in the American League. Earned run average. Toronto won that title this year in the American League. And I think it's more amazing for Toronto to have done that than Kansas City finishing second, because of the nature of the ballparks. Kansas City, a big ballpark, you can get away with long 400-foot fly balls. Not here.
The top 4 individuals in earned run average are in this series. Steve led the league. Lee Brandt was second. Saberhagen third. And today's Blue Jay starter Jimmy Key fourth. Fourth at 3 runs a game. Generally, the earned run average is higher in the American League than the National, because of the designated hitter and because of more small ballparks. In fact, several National League pitchers had ERAs lower than Steve's American League leading figure. A chance for Frank White, and an easy one. Black has set the side down in order in each of the first 2 innings. No score after 2, and we'll be right back after these messages from your local station. Game 2 of the 1985 American League Championship Series is brought to you by Wheaties, crispy, crunchy, tasty wheat. Wheaties, what the big boys eat. And by the Schick Disposable, the disposable razor made to stay sharp and shave close. Shave after shave after shave. Out in center field, some still photographers were set up in the area they have blacked out to provide a hitting background. And between innings, Bobby Cox went out and complained to the plate umpire, Dale Ford, and those still photographers will be asked to move.
They better hurry. They look like they're standing pretty quiet to me with the left-hander throwing. Perhaps they're coming out of there. Boy, that's picky, isn't it?
Switch hitter Buddy Biancalana hit just 188 with a homer and 6 RBIs during the season.
It has been a very quiet crowd today as opposed to last night. Last night when the Blue Jays struck early, they got in the ball game. Sitting on their hands so far today.
They are best described as subdued right now. In his 2 starts against Kansas City this year, he was opposed by Lee Brandt both times, lost once, had a no decision in the other outing. Biancalana puts one in there for a base hit. A leadoff single for Buddy Biancalana. Just a soft liner, but he's aboard. The third base coach is Mike Ferraro. Formerly had that role with the Yankees. Was the manager of the Cleveland Indians for part of one season. Jose Martinez is the coach at first. Lonnie Smith bounces one slowly to the left side. Garth Orge cut in front of Fernandez to make the play as Biancalana advances into scoring position.
And right off to the side, you might have seen 2 players streaking to third base. Both Tony Fernandez and Jimmy Key in the event that Biancalana tried to do what George Bell did last night on Motley. Nice play by Orge, because with Lonnie Smith's speed, and when you go after a ball like he does right here, you usually get a good jump out of the batter's box. It's low and away, and he's on the move while he's going after it. See in the corner of your screen to the left, you can see 2 players going to cover third. Nice play by Orge again.
Willie Wilson singled in the first. Hit 278 for the year. Foul back for strike 1. He was the 1982 American League batting champion. Barely edged Robin Yount out. That was the year Yount was the MVP for the Brewers.
They lost him for 3 weeks when he had that penicillin shot down at Texas. Biancalana at second. When he came back, he was not hitting well right-handed. He all but asked to be benched by Dick Howser. Thought he was hurting the ball club.
This one has popped out of play, and Key is ahead of him 0-2. When Wilson was sidelined by that allergic reaction, Omar Moreno, much scorned in New York and not necessarily without reason, came over as a fill-in, and Moreno got hot. He was something like 10 for his first 20. Had a homer and triple in his first couple of games and took up some of the slack. Moreno not eligible for postseason play for the Royals.
Wow.
Well hit to left field. Bell started in, now goes back and watches it leave. Most of what little power Willie Wilson has is from the right side. He hit only 4 homers this year, but he's given Kansas City the 2-0 lead. And the first time, Tony, Dick Howser has ever had a lead in postseason play as the manager of the Kansas City Royals.
All 4 of Willie Wilson's home runs in regular season play were out of the ballpark. No insiders this year. First home run in 7 postseason games for Dick Howser that the Royals have hit. First time they've had a lead, as you said. Still have not stolen a base, but it's nice for them to get on the board in a hurry. For Dick Howser and the Royals' sake. And like the Cubs fans, the bleacher bums, when the opposition hits a home run, this home run ball was thrown back into the playing surface. They don't want it.
Dick Howser will take it. A 2-0 lead. Brett grounded into a force play in the first.
Rick, Jimmy Key had pretty much stayed away from right-hand hitters till that ball looked like it was either cut, fastball, or slider. Couldn't tell for sure that he got inside.
Yeah, watching the telecast in here, I can see that both pitchers, both left-handers, are staying basically with the breaking ball. They don't really want to challenge anybody with the fastball too much. And at this point, you know, when there's no score in the game, yeah, a hitter can sit back and sit on that darn slider, and you know, you're going to get a better chance to get the bat head out on the ball.
Breaking ball is grounded down to first. Upshaw will take it himself, and he beats Brett to the bag. Tony, I know we've said it once before, but this is about as quiet a postseason crowd as I've ever heard, even given the fact that the home team is behind. Last night there was a festive atmosphere even before the Blue Jays broke in front. This is like a golf crowd right now. Or I shouldn't say crowd when referring to golf. It's a gallery, is it not?
Maybe they need the wave to start, that thing we hate so much, to get them going.
Well, if the wave is the answer, I'd just as soon they be quiet.
Hal McCrae didn't like that pitch. Dale Ford will get some arguments on occasion from both sides.
Definitely from me.
Oh, whoops.
Have you had your run-ins with him, Rick?
I definitely have. I had some times where I think he called the ball 12 inches outside strikes on me. But better hitters get better calls from him.
Well, if he does that to you when you're at the plate, then you can expect to get the same call when you're behind it.
Sometimes I do. It depends on who he likes and who he doesn't like.
1-1 pitch to McCrae. Curveball line to center, and he's 2 for 2, playing in pain. 6 times a 300 hitter, better than 290 lifetime, coming up on his 40th birthday.
Like any injury like this to the side, the check swing, and when you swing and miss the ball is what hurts you. I would think that anything down would be hard for McCrae to get at to try and extend, and that is a changeup that's up in the strike zone.
The Royals have 5 hits off Jimmy Key, 3 of them in this inning. Black has retired 6 in a row for Kansas City. That finds the hole. It's the 4th hit of the inning. McCrae will stop at second.
I think Ernie Witt's going to go out now and probably have a little talk, and we'll ask Rick Dempsey about this too, to say, okay, we're getting in a groove, everything's away, we're going to have to start coming in on some of these right-handed hitters. Even though Wilson did take you deep with a little zip, even in off the plate to move the hitters off. What do you think, Rick?
Well, you know, as he started the ball game, he was throwing a lot of breaking balls, and now he has to, if he's given up some hits with the breaking ball, now he has to go back to his fastball, and it is easier for a hitter to hit the fastball. He's a guy that sinks the ball away. He's not overpowering with his fastball, and he hasn't been working on the inside half of the plate at all. So now Ernie's got to go out to him and tell him he's got to just start establishing his fastball a little bit more.
You saw Dennis Lamp get the warm-up jacket off and begin to loosen up in Bobby Cox's bullpen.
Bobby Cox comes out. The pitching coach, Al Widmar, this would be a time where most pitching coaches would go out, but Al Widmar, the former St. Louis Brownie, is a guy, there he is, who's had some neck and back problems, and he prefers to relay the information through Bobby Cox. In fact, Al Widmar may have been one of the first players ever to challenge the reserve clause way back in the 40s. He had a contract in the Pacific Coast League. There's Dennis Lamp throwing now, who's so good, 11-0 during the season. But Widmar was making more money in the minor leagues. They sent him to a big league club for less money, the minimum salary. He refused to go. Then Commissioner Happy Chandler said, look, we'll give you a little bit on the other side here, pal, and you show up with us. Al said, okay, if I can make that big money.
Balboni lined out to Orge in foul territory in the 2nd inning. Fouls this one back. Obviously a very big hitter here for Jimmy Key. He's on the ropes, but the game is still close. He's got a big stick at the plate, 2 men on and trailing 2-0. McCrae at second, wide at first, 2 outs. Top of the 3rd. 1-1. He held up, and it's 3-1. Unlike a lot of free swinging power hitters, Balboni doesn't walk that often. He struck out 166 times this year, and very often a guy who'll strike out 100 plus will get 80 or 90 walks. Not Balboni, only 52 walks, and that makes that strikeout ratio all the harder to accept. Now the count is full.
It was a good hitter's pitch, 3-1, and then Balboni got over anxious, went out of his strike zone. One thing I'm sure Rick Dempsey liked about that is Jimmy Key did not let up on 3-1. Some pitchers say, here, go ahead, hit it.
They did some good cheerleading out there. He's got to tell him to stay with his basic plan right now and just remember that 2 runs may not win this game.
Runners going, and the ball grounded foul.
Lee May, the hitting instructor, of course, a former teammate of Rick Dempsey, has done a job on Balboni. Lee May struck out a lot too, but was an outstanding run producer, home run hitter, RBI man. And then with 2 strikes, he's gotten Balboni on occasion to go the opposite way and cut down on his swing and spread out.
Again, the runners will be on the move, and the 3-2 pitch once more. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Strikeout number 2 for Key, but the 2-run homer by that man, Willie Wilson, gives the Royals their first lead of the series. Marino not eligible for postseason play for the Royals.
Wow.
Well hit to left field. Bell started in, now goes back and watches it leave. Most of what little power Willie Wilson has is from the right side. He hit only 4 homers this year, but he's given Kansas City the 2-0 lead. We talked about the fact that these fans haven't really gotten into this ball game yet. As a group, Toronto fans might be the best mannered in all of baseball. Contrast what happened here to what happened at Yankee Stadium. Yankee fans stood up and booed the Canadian national anthem, one of the worst displays you'll ever see at a ballpark. And when the Yankees came up here, these fans stood respectfully and then cheered as if in answer when the United States anthem was played.
I hate to say this, but perhaps they need B.J. Bird here. Where is B.J. when they need him to cheer them up?
There is a certain reserve about citizens of Toronto, and I guess that comes across in the way their fans follow their team. Strike 1 on the breaking ball to Garth Orge.
And it is not because they have a lack of understanding of baseball. The tradition here with the AAA Toronto Maple Leafs is very deep. Some great players and managers have come through here.
Well, Sparky Anderson and Dick Williams both played in Toronto. Ralph Kiner played here. Charlie Gehringer, King Carl Hubble, Hall of Famers all. As Dick Enberg pointed out last night on the pregame show, Babe Ruth hit his first professional home run in Toronto, playing for the Providence Grays in 1914.
Oh, Garth Orge is incensed with a home plate umpire, Dale Ford. A pitch that looked like it was not only low, but way outside. And Garth, he can be a redneck at times. You don't see these kinds of displays too often. Probably not low, but it sure may have been outside.
Garth Orge, brother Dane had a pinch double last night over in the Kansas City dugout. If Buck Martinez hadn't broken a bone in his leg and fractured an ankle in that home plate collision with Phil Bradley this year, he would have caught the first 2 games against left-handers. They tried Gary Allenson, the former Red Sox, out after Martinez was hurt. That didn't work. Now Jeff Herron, a youngster, is their backup catcher. So Witt is catching against both lefties and righties.
And that injured shoulder that has prevented him from really getting the bat out through the month of September, where his average plummeted. Seemed to be well the last game or so in Detroit last week. Ooh, that's wicked right. Is that nasty, Rick? From the side?
If I was a left-hand hitter, which I tried a couple years ago, the hardest pitch that I had to hit was that sidearm slider from a left-hander. I couldn't do it.
Fastball swung on and missed, 2-2. How would you compare the slider of Black to that of Danny Jackson, who's expected to pitch in Game 4?
Very much the same. I still give Danny Jackson a little bit better edge on the slider. He throws it harder. When
Jackson is on, some bats will be broken. Witt stays alive.
And with that 2-run lead, Bud Black is coming out now with a little more confidence. He doesn't have to be quite as careful in every pitch as you have to be when you're in a scoreless ball game in this little ballpark. He's throwing a little harder, a little more effort. He knows if he can give him a good 7, Quisenberry's down there, and he's hard to come back on. Wow, look at Black now.
Now it's his turn to be upset with Dale Ford. He got the call that peeved Garth Orge a moment ago. Breaking ball, grounded to second. Black will have to cover, and he takes the flip from Frank White. A good play.
Well, Frank White had won about 6 Gold Gloves consecutively for a second baseman. He may have slowed down a little bit, but he's done what Bobby Grich has done so well. He takes a play that probably was Balboni's, anticipated the situation, the count, looked at the signal, and was moving to his left before the ball left the bat. He is still one of the toughest in the business at turning the pivot on a double play.
Breaking ball misses. Ball 1 to Fernandez. Switch hitter, batting right-handed, of course, against Black.
8 in a row set down by Bud Black.
If he has found his groove, if this is a continuation of the performance against the Angels a week ago, throw the 10-15 record out the window. What matters is how he's throwing now, and he's capable of pitching brilliantly. Three and 0.
Jim Sunberg is going to have to, like any good catcher, has to be a master psychologist, not only with Dale Ford and not turn on him and get him irritated, but also keep Black from getting too upset when he thinks calls are missed. People think you just put down fingers back there. Rick Dempsey, you tell him something different.
It's just at this point right here, all you want to try to do is stay ahead of the hitters, make sure you don't walk anybody, and give them easy runs.
Number 7, Damaso Garcia.
But Black can't believe it.
So he walks Fernandez on 4 pitches. Fernandez is the first Blue Jay base runner. And it brings up Garcia, who flied to right in the first.
Even 2 runs down. Do not discount Bobby Cox running with Garcia. Two outs. I'm not talking hit and run, straight steal, but just get some movement within the infield. Garcia, who beats a lot of balls in the dirt, if you keep it down, you might create some havoc for the defense, sneak a ball through.
0-2. You saw that graphic a moment ago. The Blue Jays placing second to the Yankees in team stolen bases. But there's better balance in that department throughout the Blue Jay lineup. The bulk of the Yankee steals, of course, belonging to Ricky Henderson, who was the individual leader in the league, as always.
Kansas City left-handers hold runners on pretty well. And if you give guys like Jim Sunberg, Rick Dempsey, Lance Parrish any kind of chance, you're gone, even if you're a good base stealer.
Swing and a miss, and Garcia is gone. It's the second strikeout for Black, who still hasn't allowed a hit through 3 innings of work. And on the Wilson homer, it's 2-0 Kansas City. What a matchup for Game 1 in the National League. Tudor against Valenzuela from Dodger Stadium. Vin Scully and Joe Garagiola call it. Dick Enberg and Joe Morgan with the pregame show at 8 Eastern Time, and then Vin and Joe with the play-by-play. Possibility of an I-70 series, as people have discussed. All Missouri, Royals and the Cardinals. Maybe 2 bird teams, the Blue Jays and Cards.
You know, there were a couple of jumbo jets. Dominicana Airlines from the Dominican Republic came up day before yesterday, and down there with all the Dominican players on this team and the other, and Tommy Lasorda having manager, they're all pulling, and the papers are all pulling for the Blue Jays and Dodgers to get in.
Heaviest Dominican representation in that case. Although if the Cardinals made it, they'd have Joaquin Andujar to cheer for. Not to mention the new addition, Cesar Cedeno. And where would the Cards have been without him? What a story he wrote in the last 5 weeks or so. 1-1 pitch to Motley is up high. Last night, Tony, you mentioned that Lloyd Mosby, the center fielder for the Blue Jays, has the nickname Shaker from his high school basketball days, all of his shake and bake moves. Well, Darryl Motley was a pretty good high school basketball player. As a matter of fact, in the state championship game in Oregon, he held Danny Ainge to 8 points in the title game in 1977. Although Ainge's team won. Danny Ainge, of course, began his professional sports career as a third baseman with the Toronto Blue Jays. Couldn't hit the curveball as well as he can hit the jump shot now with the Celtics. But this guy held him to 8 one day. Full count.
What's Ainge, about 6'5", and Motley, you'd have to stretch it to say he's 5'10".
Count holding.
Mike Ferraro, former Cleveland manager at third base as a coach. Man in postseason play. Got in trouble with the boss in New York. I don't mean Bruce Springsteen.
That is curious that two such different personalities as George Steinbrenner and Bruce Springsteen have the same nickname, the boss. I see you jump to enter this conversation and pick up on that, Tony.
I'm going to stay away from that subject.
A rarity.
Few more ball games.
A rarity. Kubek without an opinion on a potentially controversial subject.
That's like.
What a disappointment.
That's like me asking Rick Dempsey up here right now about his boss Earl Weaver and just re-signing a contract with the Orioles.
So, Rick, what about Earl Weaver just re-signing that contract with the Orioles for $600,000? A lot of money for a manager, isn't it, Rick?
No, now he'll be making more money than me, and that'll make him very, very happy.
A leadoff walk from Motley in the fourth.
Now he can get back to yelling at me whenever he wants.
Try and keep that leadoff hitter in the inning off base. Jimmy Key didn't do it, but Biancalana, the 9-hitter in the third with a single. Willie Wilson hit that 2-run home run. Sunberg, a guy you might hit and run with. Or will he sacrifice Dick Howser and try and get another runner in scoring position? Arch thinks so. He's coming in.
Line drive, base hit, and it might get in the gap. This is going to score a run. Motley being waved home by Ferraro. It's a double for Sunberg, and Kansas City leads 3-0. If they get out of here with a split, they have to feel good about things.
Jim Sunberg was actually trying to shoot the ball between Garcia and Upshaw to try and prevent a double play. It was down and in, a tough pitch to hit out that way. He inside outed it, hit the gap. Motley's speed, he scores. Do you think he wanted to get that ball a little bit more in, get a ground ball left side?
Definitely, because Sunberg is that kind of hitter that can go the other way well, and when you get him in a game situation like that, he's going to try to move the runner over.
Biancalana squares and gets the bunt down, a good bunt. Garth Orge throws him out with Garcia covering, but over to third is Sunberg.
The bullpen is going for Bobby Cox. Dennis Lamp up again. Johnny Sullivan behind him. The man, Johnny Sullivan, who converted Quisenberry in the minor leagues to relief pitching. Infield will be forced to come in right now. You got to think a lot of things. Now, even though Sunberg doesn't have speed, Lonnie Smith, of course, going to try and drive the ball for a sacrifice fly. But you got to consider squeeze, safety, or suicide. Always got to be in a catcher and pitcher's mind in this situation.
Well hit, deep left, and just foul.
Rick, if there is a possibility of a squeeze play in this, not saying it's going to happen, as a catcher, what do you want your pitcher to do?
Well, he's got to, as soon as the runner breaks to come home on the squeeze, the third baseman has to follow him. The pitcher has to fade back behind the third baseman in case there's a possibility of the ball getting by him. The pitcher can make the play or even cover third base.
Where do you want your pitcher to do? Knock the right-hand hitter down, stay with the same pitch?
Well, often now times you really don't have time to call it. They wait to the very last second to break home, and it's too quick for the pitcher to react.
Dale Ford stops the stalling tactics. Now Bobby Cox feels that Dennis Lamp has enough time. Probably going to bring the right-hander Lamp with that wicked sinker and slider to face Lonnie Smith.
The Royals have 7 hits off Key. He began this inning by walking Motley, and the loud foul off Lonnie Smith's bat may have signaled the end for Jimmy Key.
So Dale Ford broke the conference up between Witt, Key. Well, I thought Bobby stalled a little bit more, but I guess he didn't. He felt Lamp had enough. Signal came down from Johnny Sullivan that he's all right, ready to go.
So Key is departing, Lamp is arriving, and we'll be returning right after this. A few of these fans yet to get into the proceedings, busying themselves with other matters. So I see the painter has moved to Aurora. My plumber left for Pittsburgh, as a matter of fact. Dennis Lamp on the mound, and what a reversal. He was 8-8 last year, and that didn't tell the story. His ERA was 4.55, and he blew several late inning clutch assignments. This year his role has changed. He hasn't been the closer, and he's been very effective. Jimmy Key trying to figure out what happened.
And Jimmy Key talking to Doyle Alexander.
Lonnie Smith pops this one up. Upshaw hopes he has room and doesn't. Sunberg had gone back to third base, because if Upshaw had somehow made that play, jumping up on the tarp, he wouldn't have been in good throwing position.
Wind drifts this ball out of play into the seats. And Mike Ferraro, the third base coach, while this is going on, is saying, hey, look, if he is out of position, catches the ball, falls into the stands, you go on in.
Lamp inherited an 0-1 count, so it's 0-2 now to Lonnie Smith.
That is one of the pitches right there that Lamp would not use in short relief, where you make a wild pitch, you come in with men on base, he's stuck with a sinker. Now he's tightened up the slider, and he comes from the side more in middle relief. He's done an outstanding job.
Fernandez, it was right at him. He looks Sunberg back and takes care of Smith.
Willie Wilson.
So now Willie Wilson will turn around to the left side to face Lamp. He's 2 for 2, singled in the first and homered in the third.
You've got to be alert with 2 outs for him to bunt a ball, not just to Orge. He has come up at third, but if he gets the ball by the pitcher, he can beat you to first base bag if you're not over there in a hurry in the pitching department. Make Upshaw feel the ball, get off the bag so he can't make an unassisted tag.
Red is on deck. 1-1.
So the Blue Jays continue with that pitching pattern that there's George Brett, that the Philadelphia Phillies set when they struck Willie Wilson out so often. Bore the ball high and tight, left-handed. Throw the ball by him up there if you can, and he'll swing at a bad pitch in there on occasion, like that.
Remember, Willie had that nightmare World Series against the Phillies in 1980.
That'll get Mickey Cobb out. He hit that not off his foot. It looked like it was higher off the shin. Usually it's off that instep. The pitch that it most happens off too. Right-handed, left-handed hitter. That slider down and in.
Let me ask Rick Dempsey about postseason experience. Is that something the media makes a lot out of and it's not important, or does it play a role in a series like this? Kansas City, most of their players have it, and almost none of the Blue Jay players do.
Well, it can work in your favor as far as the nerves go. You know, if you've had playoff experience before, you know that you really shouldn't panic. A younger player doesn't know really how to act or react to certain situations, but an experienced player will know that don't panic under any situation.
Wilson gets this one into the air to shallow right field. It's Barfield, and it's the end of the inning. But not before the double by Sunberg produces another run. But Lamp comes in and gets them out of a man on third, one out situation to keep it relatively close. Well, Dave Stieb had them rhapsodizing last night, the 6-1 victory. But it's been all Kansas City thus far. You know, we talk about Dick Howser's managerial record in postseason play with the Royals, how he's without a victory until today, also without a lead. And when you manage, you have to be able to use all your tools. When you manage Kansas City, one of your tools is Quisenberry.
And the irony of it is, too, is you expect the Balboni or a Brett or somebody to get the first home run in the 7 games of postseason play. Who gets it? Willie Wilson. But boy, with a quiz down there, if Dick Howser gets out of Bud Black, because middle relief has been a soft spot for him, and getting to Quisenberry. We're moving some defensive players around, but if he can give him another couple of innings at least, the Quiz will come on. They say he had an off year, but he still led the league in saves. There he is with a mustache right in the middle of your screen. Dan Quisenberry.
Mosby, Bell, and Cliff Johnson in the bottom of the 4th, and now the fans try and get something going. Bud Black on the mound for Kansas City is the one holdover from their aging rotation of a couple of years ago. In September of 1983, their staff included Black as the youngster. He's now the senior member of their starting core. And they had Gaylord Perry, who was past 40, Paul Splittorff, Larry Gura, Vida Blue was there then, Eric Rasmussen, Steve Renko for a while, I think. White backs up, has time, and throws Mosby out. Now, in less than 2 years, they've turned that over from an average age of 35 to an average age of 25, one of the major's youngest staffs, and a great young staff it is, with Black and Lee Brandt, Saberhagen, Gubazar, and Danny Jackson.
The only base runner off Bud Black through 3 1/3 has been a walk to Fernandez after 2 are out. He has struck out 3.
Jimmy Williams at third, Billy Smith at first. On the coaching lines for Bobby Cox. One pitch. Curveball slapped to third. Brett backs up and commits an error.
And you said the key words, backs up. He didn't want to get that ball. There's some boards that are very hard that surround that dirt area. When he didn't get his hop, picked up a little top spin, squirts right off his glove. He may have closed it too soon. That excites the fans.
And it brings up Cliff Johnson. 0-0. When he arrived back in Toronto in late August, he found that Al Oliver had 0, so he had to go to the double O's. One and one.
Jeff Burrows, who started in this spot for Bobby Cox before they got Oliver and Johnson, really took a lot of key bases on balls. There's Jeff, those 40+ home runs for Bobby Cox in Atlanta. That's why he wanted his bat back when Johnson left. But he would throw a walk in this situation, something that Johnson does well also, although he hasn't produced many extra bases this year.
2-1 with Barfield on deck.
And Jim Sunberg called the pitch for the inside corner because he felt that Johnson, with one out, probably trying to stay out of a doublehead, might have gone the other way. Wanted to force him to pull the ball on the left side.
Ripped, and it's a fair ball. Bell will be stopped.
He's running right through it.
He runs through the stop sign and scores. They're going to play on Johnson. And he is dead at third.
Terrible base running by Cliff. George Bell was halted by Jimmy Williams. He had the hand straight up, down by 3 runs. Bell ran through it. The cutoff man was overthrown, and Cliff Johnson makes a mistake. And show you these fans, they applaud Cliff Johnson. Yes, he did drive in a run because of the speed of George Bell. He makes a base running mistake, and they applaud him for it. 2 pitches, almost the same spot. This one was a little bit more down and in. Gets over that third base bag in a hurry. Those little things that hurt you.
So a run home, but another man taken out of scoring position. Obviously, George Bell has made his mind up that he's going to be aggressive on every play. Did it twice last night and again this afternoon.
He realized when he got halfway that, hey, I can't turn back. Got to keep going, hope for a bad throw. Sunberg didn't give it to him.
Skied to shallow right. Motley near the line and into foul ground to make the catch. The double by Cliff Johnson was the first hit yielded by Black. The error by Brett set up the run, and the Blue Jays are on the board. Dennis Lamp could become a very important figure in this game. Game 2 of the 1985 American League Championship Series is brought to you by Mr. Goodwrench and Genuine General Motors Parts, and by IBM and its family of personal printers for the finishing touch.
Watch Jimmy Williams on the double by Johnson with Bell coming around. He's saying, hold on, give me a lasso. Bell wasn't paying attention. Wanted to challenge Lonnie Smith's throwing arm, and the relay man, Buddy Biancalana. Biancalana overthrew the cutoff man. Although really nobody could get there because Brett went into the corner, wasn't foul territory. Signaling fair. Here comes Lonnie, who heaves it all the way. One of those positions. Now Sunberg runs up on the ball, gets Cliff Johnson, who makes a mistake.
Picturesque slide by Johnson too. Nice little belly flop into
third. It was interesting. I thought there at first that Biancalana handled that throw, but Lonnie Smith heaved it all the way on the fly. Didn't hit the cutoff man at all, which really helped Bell to score.
Brett hits it hard, but Fernandez is there to glove it. Had him played well and made a good play on top of it.
That gets the fans on their feet in certain areas of the ballpark. At Syracuse, he was nicknamed by Stan Clark, one of their left-handed pitchers, Flipper, because of the way he flips the ball from down under. He's one of those shortstops where when you watch him a lot, you say, which way does he go best, left or right? I've never been able to figure that out with Tony. Everybody's got a strong side and a weak side. He goes equally well left or right. And when he has to come over the top to throw, he's got a good throwing arm.
Curveball hit down to Garth Orge. Long throw and plenty of time. And McCrae was moving very gingerly down the first base line. Folks, as you know, this telecast is presented by authority of Major League Baseball. Please be sure not to reproduce or retransmit it in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. Frank White is 1 for 2.
Don't know if you could hear off the bench in some of our field mics, some of the Kansas City Royals yelling to him, make him bring it up. There's that slider that Al Widmar tightened up just a little bit. More of a sweeping slider. A little tighter rotation, breaks more sharply and later.
In the air to right. Barfield with the call and the catch. and a 1-2-3 inning for Dennis Lamb. After 4.5 in Toronto, it remains the Royals 3 and the Blue Jays 1. There's our football lineup Sunday. Working the gridiron stuff in around the baseball playoffs. It begins with NFL 85 at 12:30 Eastern Time on Sunday.
Pittsburgh Dallas game's got a chance to be something, doesn't it?
Pittsburgh and Dallas should be a good one. Jim Clancy, twice on the disabled list this year, getting ready in the Toronto bullpen.
He, Ernie Witt, and Garth Orge. Talking about Clancy, original Blue Jays.
Upshaw faces Black and takes a strike. Oh, 2 to Willie, who grounded to second in his only plate appearance thus far.
Second ball game in a row that Bobby Cox has started Willie Upshaw at first base against a left-hander. He was platooning him with the right-handed hitter, a product of the Kansas City Royals organization, Cecil Fielder, but low-scoring games, he wants that defense too.
That's a base hit to open the Blue Jay fifth. And the wake-up call has arrived for the Toronto fans. Garth Orge took a disputed third strike in the third inning. The hit by Upshaw, the second yielded by Black. The first cost him a run on the double by Johnson. Biancalana shovels to White for one and on to first. Safe. Garth Orge beat it.
And that's another thing that speed does for you. It keeps you out of double plays. Biancalana had a choice. He might have been better to get that ball, step on the bag, save a throw. Look at how close he was to Frank White by flipping the ball when he just had about another yard or two to go and step on the bag. He could have avoided the toss, the one exchange, and probably would have had the double play.
Instead, Ernie Witt becomes the tying run at the plate. Tony Fernandez is on deck. Ball 1 to it. Even with the season George Bell had, he'll probably have better before his career is through. Mosby and Upshaw have been better. It's guys like Ernie Witt who have exceeded expectations for Bobby Cox. Popped up. Is it playable? Sunberg off with a mask, almost slipped on the on-deck circle, but kept his footing and made the catch.
Don't know if he hit the leaded bat or just a little wet spot on the Blue Jay emblem. He stepped right on the bat, right on the handle. You think catchers aren't agile? What they really are, they've got tremendously strong legs from all that up and down from April through September.
Is it a true story about the old Washington Senators catcher Lou Berberet, who once went back on a foul pop and threw his glove away and kept his mask?
Could be. I don't know. I hadn't heard that.
Perhaps
it's incidental whether he caught the ball or not, I guess.
Perhaps it's an apocryphal story. I don't know. Had heard it once. Orge at first with 2 out now. A called third strike. It's strikeout number 4 for Black. The Blue Jays with a leadoff single by Upshaw, but they do nothing with it, and it's still 3-1 now after 5. And a light plane about to land nearby at Toronto Island Airport.
Exhibition Stadium is right on the grounds of what they call the Canadian National Exhibition. One of the largest fairs in the world. Takes place, I believe, in August, early September. Across the highway here, Ontario Place, a great recreational center, some of the top entertainment in the world, and the skyline of the city in the background there in that last shot.
Top of the 6th, Balboni, Motley, and Sunberg do. Curveball for a strike. Balboni is 28 years old. Up and down like a yo-yo in the Yankee organization. Too many good ball players who could play first base or be designated hitters ahead of him with the Yanks, and he never really got the chance. Dick Howser finally committed himself to him last year. He said, look, I'm going to give you at least 450 at-bats, and I know there are going to be more than 100 strikeouts in there, but I figure if I give you that many chances, you'll hit me 25 to 30 home runs. He did, and then he hiked it to 36 this year. It's a Royals team record in that department. In the air to right. Barfield will have no problem with it. 1 out in the 6th.
You know, perhaps one of the great managerial jobs was done last year by the man you just saw in the dugout, Dick Howser, a while ago. After the drug scandal hit the ball club, Johnny Sherholz coming in, general manager taking over for Joe Burke. And boy, to have the kind of patience that Dick Howser had and come back and win a division last year, what an extraordinary job of managing he did.
I think that's one of the things that distinguishes Howser as a manager. He understands the nature of the 162-game season, and he manages that way. He doesn't panic or communicate panic to his players. That's also an attribute of Bobby Cox. 1-2 pitch coming. Curve ball, didn't miss by much.
Must have been low. Looked like it was down the... Oh my goodness. Well, I'll tell you who may have lost that pitch was Ernie Witt, the way he slapped down on it. Something that Johnny Sullivan has worked with him on. He catches well, pick it up in the strike zone, start below the ball.
And he went around, couldn't check his swing, and is punched out of there on a pitch way out of the strike zone.
When he comes from the side of the breaking ball, he can get you back on your heels. Motley's had a rough season, so has Sheridan.
No protest from Motley on Dale Ford's call. Strike 1 to Sunberg, who had an RBI double to right center his last time up. Well, that breaking ball is really working, Tony.
He throws a couple of different kinds. The tight slider, the sidearm curve. Now when he stayed pretty much up on top, it was more of a slurve. You lean over the plate to get it, he'll bust you inside. We may see that now. Nope, throw with a hard slider. He's had an outstanding year.
So Lamp fans 2 in this inning. He set down all 80s faced, keeping Toronto close. So November 2nd, horse racing's $10 million day with Chiefs Crown and Track Baron among the big names competing. Our director in Toronto this afternoon, John Gonzalez, will produce that 4-hour telecast. John Filippelli is our producer up here in Toronto. 2 Johns, Filippelli and Gonzalez, doing a fine job. Garcia in the 6th. Swings on the first one, as is his habit, and fouls it back.
I would imagine Dick Howser sitting on the bench. This is the inning that he wants Bud Black to give him. This 6th inning. And he would extend Quisenberry a little bit more with an off day tomorrow. Might even go 3 innings if Black gets in trouble. Black completed 5 ball games this season.
Some raindrops falling now. Swung at a pitch up around his head and goes down.
Bud Black is throwing very, very hard now. He's pretty much stuck to the fastball on Garcia.
The center fielder, number 15, Lloyd.
Rain might be a little early. They were talking about rain coming back in here after raining all night, and this morning about 6 o'clock.
Mosby 0 for 2 in the game, 0 for 7 in the series.
It is a very unusual defensive alignment against Mosby. There are some teams that play him straight away, some slightly to pull, but the left side of the outfield, Lonnie Smith was playing near the left field line, almost like a right-handed pull hitter, and Willie Wilson over toward left center field. The right fielder, Motley, giving a lot of the right field line to Mosby, so they're going to try and probably throw a lot of fastballs, make him hit the other way. And he is throwing hard. He's getting the ball up there in the high 80s, maybe 90 right now. Sticking with the fastball.
Up the middle. White behind the bag. Got him.
And there's where the defensive charts pay off. Not just how you pitch a specific offensive player, but how you play him and how you play the situation. On the artificial surface, the high bouncer, and Frank White's right there up the middle. They were throwing hard stuff to him and playing the opposite way.
George Bell, drafted out of the Phillies organization in 1980 after Pat Gillick had noticed him playing in the Dominican. What a mixture of acquisitions through different routes this Blue Jay team is. Some are homegrown products like Mosby and Barfield and Steeb. Others drafted out of other organizations. There's that list. Others acquired in astute trades. We told you about the Damaso Garcia deal. What a mastermind Pat Gillick has been. George Bell staring out at Bud Black.
He's coming down to meet him too, and Dale Ford gets right between. George Bell was one of those who was in the incident when hit by Bruce Keeson, the boss. Look at Cliff Johnson, say, pal, we cannot afford to get you thrown out. Not just of this game. Remember Bert Campaneris when he threw the bat at Laird LeGros? He was suspended for the remainder of the playoffs and 7 games by the late Joe Cronin at the beginning of the next season.
Let me ask you one question, posed rhetorically as well to George Bell. What in the heck does Bud Black want to hit him for in this situation?
I don't think he did. He was trying to move him off the plate. George is very sensitive, and with a reason. George Bell had, in the minor leagues, had gotten hit in the face, had his jaw fractured, his cheekbone, had to drink a lot of liquids through a straw and have his jaw wired shut. So he's a very emotional guy. May have been the second time you've hit me. He's saying 2. I'm assuming that's what that may mean. May have gotten him early in the year. Black has got to pitch inside, though. You can get overly sensitive about that. And boy, Cliff Johnson and Dale Ford stepped in a hurry.
Ball 1 to Johnson, the tying run at the plate, doubled home a run his last time. So it's happened before with Black. And the pitcher's defense, you will not win in the big leagues if you don't pitch inside. And remember, that pitch was not at the head.
The one at the head usually is the easiest one to get out of the way. It's the one behind the head or right behind your shoulder that you duck into.
That's through.
Whoops, Bell fell down, but recovers. Bell came around second base very hard in the event the ball was bobbled. So the right-handed hitter, Cliff Johnson, who wasn't here when they played these left-handed pitchers during the regular year, he was with Texas. Bell recovers, comes back in time.
Talking about Bell and his anger with Bud Black, you mentioned that altercation with Bruce Keeson after he was hit by a pitch and charged the mound. Went out and gave him a modified karate kick. He was suspended for 2 games as a result of that.
That incident started here when the team went up to Boston. Boston swept them near the end of the season. In September, it happened again. Nipper Came close to Bell, and it started up there too. Critical at bat right here with 2 men on and 2 outs.
And a 2-run lead for KC. Off-speed pitch for a ball.
One thing the Blue Jays did through the first 4.5 months of the year was get a lot of big 2-out base hits with men in scoring position. And then that tapered off the last month or month and a half.
1-1.
One of the few breaking balls that he's thrown this inning, Black.
It gets away. The tying runs will be in scoring position. Bell to third and Johnson to second.
The first strike was a backdoor breaking ball that caught the outside corner. Now there's going to be a pinch runner for Cliff Johnson at second base to carry the mail. He tries to throw this breaking ball a curve a little harder, overthrows it. Sunberg can't get down. Cliff Johnson will leave off second base. And Lewis Thornton, another one of those draft acquisitions off the Mets roster, will go down to pinch run at second base. Lewis Thornton, he can throw, run, he's got a quick bat. They kept him and Manny Lee all year long. Neither had played above A ball.
Up the middle. It's going to be a tie ball game. Bell scores and Thornton's behind him. Did we say this crowd was lifeless earlier? Maybe they just know how to pick their spots. White to his left. But the damage has been done. With 2 out, Bell was hit by a pitch. He swore revenge and got it in the form of 2 Blue Jay runs. And we'll be right back after these messages from your local station. Danny Jackson, whom we anticipate will be the starter of Game 4, but who worked an inning last night, the left-hander, along with Joe Beckwith, the right-hander, in the Kansas City bullpen.
And this may be an indication as we look at Tom Hinkie, the right-hander, who got roughed up a little bit in the 9th last night, and Gary Lavelle, the left-hander. It may be an indication that with Lee Brandt throwing so few pitches in the 3rd last night, that Lee Brandt will come back instead of Jackson.
And now how important does Dennis Lamp become? And the job he has already done in keeping them close. He's faced 8, retired 8.
He's done it all year long.
And remember, when he came in, they had a man at third and 1 out. He got them out of that without the run scoring. One pitch to Biancalana. Upshaw, easy out. Going back to the bottom of the 6th with 2 out and nobody on, and Black throwing well, he hit George Bell. Cliff Johnson then singled between third and short. Bell stopped at second, but they both moved up on a wild pitch. Then Lou Thornton came on to run for Johnson, and Bell and Thornton both scored on Barfield's bouncer up the middle. We're tied at 3 after Kansas City claimed a 3-0 lead early.
Well, it's the same way that the pitching staff from Kansas City hurt themselves yesterday. In the score, 2 runs scored in the 2nd. Barfield single, but Upshaw's hit by a pitch. In the 3rd, they came up with 3 runs, 2 walks in that inning, and there was error in the 4th, the only other run scored in the ball game for the Blue Jays. They won 6-1. So again, a hit batsman hurts them in this case.
0-2 to Lonnie Smith. Goodbye.
Monty doesn't care for it. And Ernie Witt, Lamp's a veteran too, figure, hey, look, if you give us an inch of the outside edge off the black, we get ahead. We're going to go 2 or 3 or 4 inches off the plate.
Lonnie's reaction there could be described as perplexed but polite. The expression told it all, but nothing said to Dale Ford. 3 strikeouts for Lamp now.
10 in a row set down by Lamp now.
Upshaw, tough hop. Does he have time? Lamp covers and beat Wilson to the bag.
Willie is hooting and howling down the line. Lamp had to get over in a hurry. He almost didn't get there in time. The ball knocked down on the in-between hop by Upshaw. Awfully close.
Once he didn't handle it cleanly, Upshaw knew he'd have to hurry with Wilson running and Lamp. Let's see. Ooh, was it close?
Oh.
Tony, a tie, if there is such a thing, goes to the runner. You decide.
Well, there's no such rule in the book. Jim Evans, the first base umpire, had a tough call. Take your pick. You get an argument either way. Both feet hit the bag simultaneously, and you would have gotten an argument either way.
Well, you know, there may be no rule worded that way, but in effect it becomes that, because in order to record the putout, you must beat the man to the bag. And so if technically it's a tie, you haven't done that, so a tie does go to the runner.
I know one thing, Dennis Lamp fortunately tagged the home plate side of the first base bag. If he'd have gone to the middle or the outfield side like some do, would have been that inch difference. The call would have gone the other way. Good call by Evans.
Bottom of the order in the bottom of the 7th. Black still in there for KC. Strike 1 to Garth Orge. He's 0 for 2.
Now at the corners, they are guarding the lines. Brett looking for a bunt, but he's standing just a stride from the foul line, and the same with Balboni at first. Take the double away. They're in the 7th.
Chopped up the middle. White has it click off his glove. Orge rounds first, and Wilson fires it back in. I don't think with Orge's speed that even had White made the play that he could have thrown him out.
And Frank White knew that, so he was starting to break. He could have caught the ball and thrown an off-balance throw, or just kept on going and not gotten anything on. He was trying to break so he could plant the foot to get the Orge, who runs well, as we saw earlier in the ball game. Now Brett and Black are going to have a conference. This is the kind of situation with a left-hander against left-hander. Even though Bobby Cox sacrificed only 21 times, he may have Witt sacrificing. Now Ernie wants to get it straight.
And as we told you, they played 4 extra inning games during those 12 regular season encounters.
Ernie Witt still doesn't have it straight. He steps out again. You would think they're going to throw fastball here in the event that he is bunting, and Witt is a good fastball hitter.
And a chant of Ernie, Ernie starts at Exhibition Stadium. Orge back easily.
They're still trying to find out if the switch is on to the hit sign. If Ernie Witt would slide the left hand up.
He pulled the bat back. It's 1-1.
A lot of possibilities. Hit and run, bunt again, straight hit.
The bunt.
Nope.
Black pounces on it and goes to second. They get the force, but not the double play.
And you get a faster runner off the base pass in Orge, who could score on a long base hit or a double, and a little slower runner than Ernie Witt on now. Unusual strategy. Many managers will tell you in a short series or in a pennant race they will manage exactly the same way. Regular season, I'll guarantee you, Ernie Whitt would not have been bunting against any kind of pitching, even a left-hander, with a 2-1 count in a tie game. Orange put some pressure on Biancalana. That little bit of pressure may have allowed Whitt that extra step so he could beat it out at first.
Fernandez, who was 2 for 3 in the opener, has walked and struck out today. 3 runs, 7 hits, and an error for the Royals. 3-5-0 for the Blue Jays. The error by Brett set up an unearned run. Blind, and Black somehow saves his life and the inning.
That got him and not his glove, and then he trapped it with his glove.
A bullet, and we can only hope that it just took the wind out of him.
A tailing fastball that Bud Black could not defend against. He could not get out of the way. Ernie Whitt gets hung up. He's gone.
And Black immediately headed down the runway and toward the clubhouse. The tie is preserved. I don't know how many folks have had a chance to stand on a major league pitcher's mound and look at a hitter. It's frightening how close it actually is. Sometimes we take that for granted. The ball can get back on top of you very, very quickly. Black was hurt, but he made the play, turning it into a double play.
Start off a little bit about over 60 feet, 6 inches and a fraction away, and when you follow through, usually about 6 or 7 feet closer. I don't think that ball got any piece of his glove. Lavelle comes on. Told you he's had some problems. He's on for one specific reason. George Brett leading off the 8th. Maybe only one hitter that he'll face and test the elbow. Dan Quisenberry gets up, so apparently that ball did not catch much of Bud Black's glove.
You want to talk about a player who is a presence, a guy an entire inning is managed around. You can talk about George Brett, and he would be on any list of hitters who fit that description in the major leagues, no matter how short that list might be. Here's Dennis Lamp, who is not allowed a base runner, and I doubt that he was incapable of pitching another inning. But this late, and Brett in the midst of a season in which he hit 30 home runs, the porch so inviting here in right field, Lamp will not get the chance, with the game on the line in the 8th inning, to face George Brett. The next 2 hitters, McCrae and White, for that matter, the next several hitters, Balboni, Motley, Sunberg behind them, all right-handed.
And that's why he may just face Brett, and that's it.
So Lamp's work is done. He faced 11, and he sent 11 back to the dugout. Ball 1 to Brett.
He may be able to throw as hard as he normally does, but the control may be the problem. Thinking about the pain, he didn't throw that ball well at all.
Is that home road ERA disparity a coincidence, or is there a factor here?
Could be coincidental. What he's had difficulty with at times, Bob, is throwing strikes to left-handed hitters, something he's supposed to specialize in. He just laid that ball in very easily. His elbows killed him, I would guarantee you. That was, I mean, he doesn't really throw a changeup. He's fastball, and they tried to teach him a slow curve this spring to take the pressure off his elbow with that hard slider. And he just really looked like that ball was up to about 65 miles an hour.
2-1 pitch. Another soft toss. If that's the case, are they going to regret keeping him on the active roster for postseason and setting Steve Davis aside?
They had Davis, who's in mid-20s, called him up. He was eligible. He was here before September 1st. I believe Lavelle, on the off day, Monday, talked Bobby Cox and the trainer Kenny Karst into thinking that he could pitch. So they will go, if he can't throw better than that, the rest of this league championship series. I'm not saying he's going to get disabled. Here comes Hanky. They will go without a left-hander in the bullpen.
So they brought him in to face one man, and he walked that one man, Brett. The go-ahead run aboard as Henke comes out of the bullpen, and the first man he'll face will be Hal McCrae. We'll be right back. There is Gary Lavelle, and that is not the pocket of Al Widmar. There is the face of the 60-year-old pitching coach.
Gary Lavelle, with 11 years in the National League with the Giants, San Francisco Giants, with no taste of postseason play, perhaps let his emotions dictate to him instead of his physical condition when he came in on Monday and said, yeah, I think I can pitch. He looked to that World Series ring or the possibility of it. Now, interesting to see if McCrae with that bad rib cage tries to bunt on Hanke. Brett on first.
McCrae's a pretty good bunter.
No, they're not looking for it.
He pops it up, and Witt dives but can't.
Garth Orge was playing deep at third. Upshaw was coming in. He was holding Brett, but with that damaged muscle in his side, nice try by Ernie Witt. That's a tough play for a catcher because you are springing out from behind home plate toward the pitcher. That's where your momentum is in case he deadens the ball on the dirt surface. You're going to get that ball and take a shot at the lead runner.
A piece of business here, as again we remind our viewers, we'll select the NBC Light Beer for Miller Player of the Game at the conclusion of the contest.
And don't forget Joe and Vin tonight. Dodgers Stadium. Dodgers Cardinals. Bill Caudle begins to throw. Tudor against Valenzuela.
The runner going. And McCrae fouls it off. The Blue Jays had the best bullpen performance overall in their team's history this year, but it didn't go the way they expected. They thought that would be the case because of the presence of Caudle and Lavelle. They went out and spent the money and made the trades and the moves, gave up some good personnel to get them. Caudle had a very disappointing season. Lavelle just so-so. Frank White is on deck. But Dennis Lamps returned to form. The late season emergence of Henke up from Syracuse, that's what's done it.
Jim Acker the first 3.5 months. George Brett doesn't run like he did, a couple of years ago, but he has stolen 9 bases, been caught just one time. He tried to surprise Henke with that long delivery.
Not going this time. Hits softly, and it might drop in. Mosby coming on to make the play.
He got a good jump on this ball. Bob was playing for McCrae toward right center field and relatively deep in this tie game. Remember Mosby on Friday? Ball popped to right center field, would have been the third out in a 3-3 ball game. Popped out of his glove. The 4th run scored, and the Yankees pushed him 1 extra day to Saturday.
Henke lacing up.
Quisenberry was up in the bullpen for Kansas City. Then he sat down. He probably felt he was ready, and when innings started getting a little slower, he sat down. Now he's back up again. A veteran relief pitcher knows how not to burn himself out in the bullpen, to pace himself and get those last 8 pitches. That'll get him ready for the inning. He apparently is coming in.
He might have been coming in anyway, even had Black not taken that wicked liner in the gut. This makes Howser's decision a little easier if it hadn't been made already.
During the regular season, Henke struck out 42 in just 40 innings pitched, so allowed just 29 base hits. He did have 4 home runs hit off him over, however.
2-1.
Well, off a hard throw like Henke, who at times has a tendency to let up when he gets behind. Will you start a runner? Brett wasn't sure. Brett looked over to Mike Ferraro. That last pitch 90 miles an hour, which is not his best fastball. Brett looked over to Ferraro, wasn't sure of the sign, then looked to Martinez. He may be moving. Jose Martinez, the first base coach.
Earlier in the year, Brett, perhaps half kidding, said, I don't even know the signs anymore. I'm too old and battered to steal. They let me make up the hit and run anytime I feel like it. So I forgot what the signs are. There he goes. The throw by Witt. Got him.
who's had that badly bruised right shoulder, has worked hard to quicken his release. Look at the quick footwork. Not much on the throw. The ball being low and away. Frank White did not protect Brett by swinging at it. And he's gone. He got rid of that ball in a hurry, even though there wasn't a whole lot on it. Quick release by White.
So now it's White with 2 out and nobody on. And he draws a walk.
Well, Tom Hakey, not the ideal type of pitcher to start a runaround. He may be a little bit slow moving to home plate at times, but he gets a lot of call strikes because he throws so hard. You swing through a lot of pitches. So Dick Howser got burned. The inning might have been different. A high fastball pitcher against a hitter, Balboni. They think they can get out with high fastballs.
Balboni's hitless in the series. But we'll repeat what we said last night. Howser puts it this way: I cannot tell when this guy is in a slump. His swing is the same, whether he's hitting homers or swinging through the ball. I just let him go up there and hack, and occasionally something good happens. More than occasionally this year.
Wasn't his fastball, probably the forkball. And what started out as a rather drab ball game through a good part of it with the fans really not in it has become very exciting and typical of postseason play. And one thing, the fans might not have felt it, but the electricity postseason play is what World Series pressure used to be like. Get to the World Series, they're talking now the possibility of the winner's share being $100,000, loser's share maybe 60.
Does that make as much difference to most modern players as maybe the 10,000 did to you when your salary might have been 25 or 30 with the Yanks?
I can't speak for the modern player. I know this: after you go through 162 games with the chance of losing it at either 3 of 5 or 4 of 7 it is right now, it takes a lot of pressure once you've gotten into the World Series.
Oh, I think the winning and the losing still carries the same pressure and the desire to excel, but I don't know if they can ever get the shares up high enough for it to matter as it used to the old timers. They used to count on those World Series checks as a big bonus.
Well, I would disagree with you in this. I don't think the desire is any less to win at any time of the year on these players today as opposed to years ago.
I said that. I don't disagree with that. The notion of disagreeing with you is repellent to me. The 2-2 pitch drops down sidearm and misses. So a small edge to Kansas City, as White will be running and might be able to score on an extra base hit.
And in this tie ball game, in this situation now, the outfielders have moved almost back to the warning track. Bell in left is not going to get a ball hit over his head. Mosby much deeper, as is Barfield. Concede that single. You don't want that runner coming home. Look out. Trick play.
Henke almost missed Upshaw.
As hard as he throws, you don't want to have that play fouled up, do you? Rolling around down the right field corner.
He kind of short-armed that one after he saw at the last second that Upshaw might not be there. There goes White. Balboni might have tipped it, but in any case, Witt held it. And they're roaring at Exhibition Stadium. They'll have the top of the order in the bottom of the 8th, tied at 3.
Yeah, he's ready.
How does it feel when the phone rings and it's for me? Who's batting? Who am I facing? Nervous? Want the nervous edge.
Come on, let's go get him.
Keep cool. Keep cool.
Keep it down, buddy.
I can't trust what I got in the bullpen. Here goes nothing.
Sports Illustrated. Get the feeling.
Game 2 of the 1985 American League Championship Series is brought to you by Miller Beer. Miller made the American way since 1855 by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? By RCA, creators of video technology that excites the senses. And by Burger King, home of the new Whopper. Aren't you hungry for Burger King now? The quiz is on in the bottom of the 8th. 37 saves this year to go with a record of 8-9 and an ERA of 2.37. The previous 2 years, he's saved 45 and 44, 45 and 83, then a major league record, tied the next year by Bruce Sutter over in the National League with the Cardinals. And Quisenberry was just one behind Sutter in 84. He saved 44 last year.
He's now led the American League for 4 consecutive years in saves. The thing that's been troublesome to Quisenberry, that control. He hasn't kept the ball down at the knees as much as in the past. Always had exceptional control. And his hits to innings pitched has gone up in accordance with that. Also 8 home runs this year, which is unusual for him in that ballpark especially.
Brett on a short hop, juggles and got it. He stayed with it.
George Brett did not have a chance to play any big hop, or as Casey Stengel said, Big Bill. He smothers it, kept it in front of him. Snap throw of that strong arm. And remember, he had to come a long way because he's playing even with the bag and guarding the line in this ball game. And it's bang, bang, but Balboni's stretch may have made the difference. Nice play on both ends.
Mosby is due from Toronto's point of view. 0 for 8 in the series. Not anymore. Base hit.
And they've got the base stealer on that they won against Quisenberry. With that long down under delivery, can be stolen on. But he'll change his pace. He'll throw over, hold the ball, quick pitch. Mosby's got to be going on one of these pitches in this series.
He led the Blue Jays in steals with 37.
Shouldn't say he's got to be going. I think he's going to be going.
Bell doesn't have a hit, but he scored 2 runs. Came home on Johnson's double after he reached on Brett's error in the 4th. Then after Black hit him with a pitch, he scored one of their 2 runs in the 6th.
One thing about short relievers, generally speaking, they've got to come up with a good move. More so in the National than the American League, because there's Al Oliver in the on-deck circle. Thornton scheduled in that spot. He pinch ran for Cliff Johnson. He's quick to first, but his delivery gets long to home plate.
Bottom of the 8th and a 3-3 tie. Bell stepped out. Quisenberry waiting for him. The runner is going. The throw by Sunberg. He's in there with a headlong dive and on his way to third. It not only got by White, but it got through Biancalana backing up.
Little things have killed Kansas City again today. Biancalana had to hold his spot with a right-handed hitting Bell up. Not a good pitch to throw on. A low sinker ball to Sunberg. It gets by. A hard head-first slide by Mosby. He pops up and it'll force the infield to come in right now. A lot of balls are hit off the end of the bat off Quisenberry. You don't hit the ball very hard on the ground off him too often. Two
2-0 to Bell with Al Oliver on deck. Stolen base, of course, for Mosby. The error charged to Sunberg. In the air to right center field. It's going to give Toronto the lead. Motley with the catch. Mosby can walk home. Oliver's first at bat in the series.
A 3-0 lead that at this point has gotten away from Kansas City.
Willie Wilson coming in. He's camped under it now. But a 1-out single by Mosby. A stolen base for Lloyd. A throwing error for Sunberg, and a sacrifice fly from George Bell put the Blue Jays a half inning away from a 2-game lead.
If you can see a smile through that suit, then B.J. Bird is smiling. For those of you just getting home from work, the Royals had a 3-0 lead at one time in this ball game. They built it on a 2-run homer by Willie Wilson in the third.
And an RBI double from Jim Sunberg in the fourth. Then the Blue Jays started to come back. Bottom half of the fourth, George Bell reached on a George Brett error, scored on Cliff Johnson's double down the left field line. Then they scored twice in the sixth. With 2 out, Bell was hit by a pitch. Johnson singled. They both moved up on a wild pitch. Thornton ran for Johnson. Barfield bounced a single up the middle. Both runners scored, and the game was tied. Now, on an unearned run off Quisenberry in the bottom half of the eighth, they've given Henke the lead as we move to the ninth.
And so far, in all the scoring innings for the Blue Jays in both games, the Royals have done something to hurt themselves. Second inning yesterday, hit batsman. Third inning, 3 runs, 2 walks. Error by Balboni in the fourth, a run. Those were the 6 runs yesterday.
Sheridan bats for Motley, swings and misses at the high heater. Just throwing flame up there.
Dr. Hakenstein may be taking over. He hadn't pitched for a while before yesterday's 9th inning performance. Bobby Cox said, I got him in there for a reason, to give him some work. He's better when he works more.
Sheridan last night in game 1 was 0 for 3 with a walk. I think this gun may be short-changing Henke. Didn't miss by much. 2-2.
He didn't throw that hard. He tried to spot a little sinker, low and away. Turned it over a little bit. Apparently has been given permission to blow in his hands while on the pitcher's surface. A team that has gotten to the league championship series like Kansas City isn't supposed to do some of the things they've done in these first couple of ball games. Hit batsman, that's what happened today. Error by Brett in the fourth led to a run with a double RBI. Hit batsman with 2 outs, Bell in the sixth, 2 runs came home.
Well hit by Sheridan to deep right. This game is tied. A pinch hit homer by Pat Sheridan, and it's even up at 4. And for Henke, memories of last Friday. And Butch Weiniger with 2 outs against the Yankees and the pennant clinching and out away. The Weiniger homer prolonged the Blue Jays' agony, and they had to clinch it the next day.
You talk about a stunned crowd. Don't know if it's the same kind of crowd now as the incident you just mentioned. Weiniger hitting that home run to tie it at 3, and then Mosby dropping a fly ball. For the 4th run, they lost 4-3, but it is a silent. Ooh.
All the noise in this ballpark as Sheridan toured the bases came out of the Royal dugout. So now up comes Sunberg. And takes a ball.
During the regular season, Royals pinch hitters hit just 156 with 1 home run and 17 runs batted in. I think that isn't a clutch hit for Pat Sheridan.
As we told you earlier, these teams played 4 extra inning games in 12 contests during the regular season. Prior to this playoff, they hadn't played one another in almost 2 months. They last met in mid-August. Right at Fernandez. 1 out. Biancalana goes back, and Dane Orge, who had a pinch hit double last night, comes out of the Kansas City dugout.
And as we approach 6 o'clock here out in the Eastern time zone, that temperature's dropping a little bit. Wind still blowing out to right field, or from left to right. It's getting a little cooler.
For the shortstop, Buddy Biancalana. Number 9, Dane Orge.
Orge was hitting for Biancalana in the 8th last night when he lined a 2-out double to the wall in left center.
Dick Howser still has Orta and Jamie Quirk from the left side. Wathan, Concepcion, Lynn Jones, Pryor from the right side. Garth Orge didn't know which way to pull yesterday on the pinch hit double to left center. Of course, he had a 6-0 lead at the time. I think he was hoping that the ball would fall in for Dane. That was yesterday.
Strike 1 is called. One and 2. Two and 2. The Royals have 2 homers today. Wilson in the 3rd to give them the 2-0 lead. And Sheridan with the pinch hit homer here in the 9th to tie it. Full count now. Henke was ahead of him 0-2.
Bobby Cox has his bullpen going in the left field corner. Case Henke continues to struggle. Bill Caudle to the right and Jim Acker to the left.
He works him for a walk.
And Henke had him no balls and 2 strikes, and Orge very patiently waited him out, fouled off a couple pitches. There'll be a pinch runner now for Dane Orge as Onyx Concepcion comes on.
And he'll remain in the game and play shortstop since Orge hit for Biancalana.
Running for Dane Orge, number 2, Onyx Concepcion.
The thing about Henke during the regular season, we told you about his strikeout to inning pitch just above that. He only walked 8 in 40 innings during the regular season, so his control usually is very, very good. For a hard thrower, that's a very low base on balls total. Unless you're Dwight Gooden.
Not going. Strike 1. 1-1.
See, Whitey Herzog had thoughts of not starting Vince Coleman against Valenzuela because he didn't hit him that well during the season. Apparently, Vincent's going to start against Valenzuela tonight.
Van Slyke won't, though, in right field. They'll go with the red-hot Cedeno, who hit over 400 for them after they picked him up from the Reds. Concepcion the go-ahead run at first in the top of the ninth.
Hankey's got to stop being distracted by the runner on first base. He's got to put a little more focus right now on Lonnie Smith, or he's going to just lay one in there.
Well, now he's ahead of Lonnie 1-2.
Oh, look out.
Comes down sidearm, and Smith gets a piece of it and stays alive.
That's a pitch that's been very effective for him a lot this year. Doesn't throw it quite as hard, but it's got better movement on it.
2-2. You know, when Smith came over from the National League, he complained, look, all they do in the American League is throw junk, breaking balls, 2-0, 3-1. Why won't they challenge me like they did in the National League? Well, he's got the guy he wants out there right now.
Dick Howser's reply to that was, all I've seen them do to Lonnie is power him away.
Full count. Concepcion hasn't been going up until now. Let's see what he does with one out here. There he goes. Swing and a miss. The throw. Strikeout, throw out.
That's what happens sometimes. You start a runner, you get your hitter, react and go after a bad pitch. Might have been there, might have been outside. Tony Fernandez goes right into traffic. Who says he's fragile? He went right into the path to make this tag. Ernie Witt once again, very quick release to get Concepcion.
We go to the bottom of the ninth. Tied at 4. Well hit by Sheridan to deep right. This game is tied. A pinch hit homer by Pat Sheridan, and it's even up at 4. As Concepcion is tagged out, watch the free hand of Tony Fernandez. It comes up and gets Onyx in the face, and he has some blurry vision in his right eye, but he's able to stay in the game at shortstop, replacing Biancalana, and Pat Sheridan's out in right field.
And what a dramatic home run for the Royals by Pat Sheridan. Pinch hitting, leading off the ninth for Motley. He curls one around the right field foul pole.
Barfield starts it in the bottom of the ninth. And Quisenberry quickly ahead of him 0-2. So it's the relief aces now, Henke and Quisenberry.
Quisenberry converted to that relief spot in the minor leagues by Johnny Sullivan. When Johnny Sullivan was asked why, he said, well, I didn't think a starting pitching assignment for him would be good. You see him 3 or 4 times in the ball game, you figure out his delivery. But 2 other things he said. There is Tom Henke. Gave up that home run to Sheridan leading off the ninth. But he also said he can throw strikes at the knees and get you the double play, which was very important also. Like that. He stays right down at the knees.
Willie Upshaw is on deck, and then Garth Orge is scheduled, although we might see Rance Mullenix against Quisenberry. Got him. A weak and late swing. And Barfield's a strikeout victim.
Quisenberry doesn't throw hard. Every once in a while, he'll throw a knuckleball. Mullenix will come out on deck after Upshaw hits. The pitch before this, he sunk a fastball low and in. Sinking fastball, and then he went away. He's got that rising curveball, an occasional knuckleball, a forkball. His bread and butter pitch, keep the ball at the knees and sink it.
Upshaw's 1 for 3. Had a 5th inning single.
One of his big assets is to you left-handed hitters, especially in a bandbox like this, with the wind blowing out, he can make you hit the ball to left or center field changeup.
And what a changeup it was. The change again He bounces it to Balboni, who underhands to Quisenberry, 2 out.
The motion of Quisenberry, not from completely down under. Remember when he first came up, how Kent Tekulve of the Pittsburgh Pirates helped him? He helped him by staying down. And he also said that left foot was so important. Do not throw across your body. Open up the left foot
third baseman
and the hip so that the arm could come through.
Number 5, Rex Mulliniks.
So now Mulliniks for Orge. And if we go to a 10th inning, Mulliniks will remain in the game and play third.
Rand's the kind of guy that has a chance to hit Quisenberry. He can go the other way. Although he is such a smart hitter, Mulliniks says, if you look at the defensive alignment, about straightaway, slightly to pull in center field. Said he learned to hit watching Brett when he was with Kansas City and listening to Charlie Lau.
A ball and a strike. We're in the bottom half of the 9th, tied at 4.
I always feel one of the reasons why Quisenberry is effective so late in the ball game, as he always comes in, is because in a close ball game, the hitters are so anxious to be the hero. They want to pull everything, hit the ball to the ballpark, break the tie, and go home the hero. And he keeps it away, changes speeds. They overswing on him.
Well, Mulliniks went the opposite way for a 2-out hit.
With Quisenberry, you know, he makes you beat him with a series of singles. In the past, anyway, not too often with a long ball.
Mulliniks stole only 2 bases this year.
It's turned out to be one heck of a ball game, hasn't it?
Fernandez moves into the on-deck circle in case Witt prolongs the inning. That's out of play.
He doesn't ever seem to show you the same pitch twice. Dick Howser now doing a little movement with his defense. Told Balboni, I believe, we'll see, to play behind the runner. Or is he going to? No, he's going to hold him on yet. Mullen says you indicated not a base stealer. Witt's a pull hitter. You can see the defensive alignment. He's not going to protect the gap.
A called strike 2.
Sometimes when you're looking inside to pull the ball and get it in the wind, as Ernie Witt must have been right then, you can lose the outside part of the plate and distort your strike zone and think it's too far outside. But if you're opening up and losing the outside corner, it might be a strike. You don't know it as a hitter.
Struck him out. Second strikeout for Quisenberry in the inning. Mulliniks singles with 2 out, but he's stranded at first. For the 5th time in 14 meetings this year, these two go to extra innings. Well, we may play here right up until the first pitch at Dodger Stadium tonight. In any case, Vin and Joe will be ready to call it. John Tudor against Fernando Valenzuela, a matchup of fine left-handers, and fine may be an understatement. This year, Tudor was a great one, and Valenzuela, of course, has been that in the past.
What's the latest report you get on the condition of Jackie Clark and also Pedro Guerrero? Guerrero missed quite a bit with that sprained wrist, got back. 2 important men. Are they completely healthy, I wonder?
They're not completely healthy. Clark isn't for sure, but they'll play. Willie Wilson in the 3rd inning gave Kansas City the lead batting right-handed when he hit a homer off Jimmy Key. Here it is.
Leading off the 10th inning for the Kansas City.
Biancalana had led that 3rd inning off with a single. It was a 2-run home run. They are in at the corners. Mulliniks and Upshaw, and they've shortened up in the middle of the diamond too.
Wilson is 2 for 4. Mulliniks, of course, staying in the game at 3rd. The homer Wilson hit was the first he has ever had in postseason play. Counting that homer, he has 22 home runs lifetime, 13 of them inside the park.
Left center field. Let's see who's going to go out. Nobody inside the park. We may have an inside the parker. Around second, digging for third. They're going to try to score him. Here he plays. Ball game's over. Oh boy, did he go? Oh, was he flying?
Checks his swing and might get a base hit out of it. It's his third hit of the day.
Gonna be some fun now. Hanke and Wilson and Ernie Witt's arm. Of course, with George Brett up, Howser may have a different idea. You steal him and they pitch around Brett, even in this tie ball game. Plus, you want that hole left open for Brett, but we'll let Dick Howser figure that one out.
Not going. Called strike on the fastball. Through the years, Wilson has been one of the great percentage base stealers of all time. Not going again. Swing and a miss. Strike two.
Looked like the forkball, the pitch he developed in Venezuela in the Winter League, specifically for tough left-handed hitters.
For what it's worth, both these teams have played well in extra innings. The Blue Jays 12-5, Kansas City 11-7. Got him. George Brett down on strikes.
It was not Hanke's riding fastball. Did he pitch George Brett tough? Fastball away right on the outside edge and low. Forkball. Now he comes up with the second consecutive forkball that just tumbles off the table.
So George is 0 for 4 after last night's 3 for 4. Hal McCrae, his 18-year-old son Brian, an infielder out of Bradenton, Florida, drafted by the Kansas City organization this year. They asked McCrae if it makes him feel old to have a son playing in the same organization. He said, no, what makes you feel old is when they throw the fastball by you consistently. Henke's a guy who can do it.
I would expect in this situation that Willie Wilson is going to be off and trying to get in scoring position for McCrae and then Frank White.
Wilson bluffs the go and McCrae fouls it out of play.
Dick Howser, like most managers these days, has a lot of different signs. A stop sign, don't steal. A pick your pitch, you got to go on this pitch. I don't know what he's got on. If he's got the stop sign for Willie, I'd be surprised. With his speed, I think that he'd be wanting to get in scoring position. Willie Wilson may feel he hadn't been able to read Hanke.
Pitch out, but nothing's on. When you look at Howser, the expression doesn't tell it. The eyes don't tell it. But maybe the way he was working that gum over is the indication of the tension he feels inside. Another pitch out. And again, Wilson is anchored. 2-2. Howser to Ferraro and Ferraro on to McCrae. There goes Wilson. And he'll have to come back. Going again. Swing and a miss. Throw by Witt. Wilson stole it.
Witt's going to ask for interference. Witt is arguing with the home plate umpire, say, look, he swung, but it was not intentional. On a pitch away in the strike zone, McCrae swung and he fell into the strike zone area. Ernie Witt could not get off a throw. He's already thrown 2 runners out for Kansas City. And Dale Ford to say, no, it wasn't intentional at all. He went after an outside pitch. Ernie Witt could not get all he wanted on the throw, and Wilson's in. Here it is from left center field. Wilson didn't get that great a jump. If Ernie Witt hadn't been blocked by McCrae unintentionally, he probably would have gunned him out too.
So earlier he managed to throw out Brett and Concepcion, but Wilson steals on him. Wilson opened with a single, a check swing single to center at that. Brett and McCrae have been struck out by Henke, but Wilson now in scoring position. Frank White, curveball for a strike.
4 strikeouts now by Henke. Came on in the 8th after Laval walked Brett.
Fastball is smacked into center, and Mosby up there. I haven't seen the call yet. He's coming in, and they say safe.
The center field umpire, or rather the second base umpire, looked over to the right field foul line umpire for the call.
Oh, we're going to have a rhubarb now.
Ted Hendry came out, did not see it. He immediately looked to Davy Phillips on the right field foul line, the crew chief, and Davy Phillips, who did not have the angle that Hendry should have, waved the safe sign. That was not the right field foul line's call. But Hendry didn't see it. I don't believe. He was turning. The ball was hit so hard, and he didn't do his job. Hate to be that cruel to him, but he looked immediately away, and he is explaining now, hey, look, I just didn't see it. The ball went over my head. I tried to get out of the way. I had my back to it. The man who's supposed to call it. He caught it. I don't think that ball hit the turf. Did he catch it? Well, we'll show it to you again.
And I don't think Mosby was consciously decoying when he continued his stride toward the dugout. He honestly believes he caught that ball.
This isn't over yet. We'll show you a replay again. Did the fingers of that long basket-like glove get beneath the ball between the turf, or did it bounce? Bobby Cox asked one thing. He said, okay, if Ted Hendry didn't see it, the second base umpire, Davy Phillips, I think it may have skipped, but it is still difficult to tell. Folks, we've shown you a lot of angles. This appears to be the best one. Wow. You see it one time, you say it didn't. Bobby Cox went to Davy Phillips and Henry and said, okay, now, if both of you are not sure, let's go to another umpire. They had a conference behind second base, and the call stands. Great replays, guys. Boy, it is still so difficult to tell.
Wilson scores, and the Blue Jays now trail 5-4. Here's Balboni.
Mosby tried to decoy, so perhaps he doesn't even know whether he got it or not. I doubt if he even knew. I mean, you've got these long gloves now. Look like cestas from a highlight match. And it's not hitting in the palm of your hand. It's hitting all leather.
High to Balboni, 1-1. In the bottom of the 10th, Fernandez, Garcia, and Mosby are the scheduled hitters.
So the little bit of a block out also comes into play there on the hard swing by McCrae, forcing Ernie Witt to make a low throw.
This ball is squibbed down towards second. White avoids being hit with it, and Garcia throws Balboni out. But the single by Wilson, the stolen base, and the disputed single by Frank White have given Kansas City the 5-4 lead as we go to the bottom of the 10th. Just a moment ago, thousands of Blue Jay fans were looking up toward our booth, and they were chanting replay, replay, and some were looking at us as if to ask, could we tell? The honest answer is no, although if I had to bet my life, I'd say he caught it.
Well, Ted Hendry, it was his call. Perhaps I was too hard on him. but I don't believe even Mosby knows. He thinks he catches it. If you see white beneath the glove,
I think he caught it.
I don't see any white beneath that glove. It is so difficult to tell. We had 4 different angles with 4 different cameras for you. The little things that have made the difference in these 2 ball games.
Fernandez chops it over Quisenberry, but Concepcion is there. He double clutches and Fernandez is safe. If he got rid of it the first time, he's got him.
I have never seen Quisenberry upset like that, but he was very irate. He went to George Brett and said, I thought he was out. What do you think? For a while there, I thought he was upset with Concepcion. Quisenberry had a chance to make a jump at this ball. Way over his head. Concepcion says, I have it. No, I don't. Didn't have a good grip. And Tony Fernandez from the left side with that outstanding speed has got something going for Toronto now. Another little thing that might make a difference. They're going to look for the bunt on Damaso Garcia. Brett and Balboni will be charging.
The ruling is infield hit.
Yep.
He's safe.
You betcha. A play that should have been made, though, even though it's a hit.
Garcia's 0 for 4, and he's fanned twice.
But that's awfully tough to come in late in the ball game. Remember, Concepcion came in as a pinch runner, stayed on beyond Kalana left. And you aren't quite in the flow of the game, especially a pressure-packed game like this one. Didn't have a grip on it. Trying to find out for certain, if they can, if Garcia's bunting or not. He's not.
He bluffed as if he were going. Brett comes in. His only play is to first, so it works like a sacrifice.
They're talking over right now whether they should put Mosby on and pitch to Bell. Oliver would follow Bell as he came on the DH spot.
A strike to Mosby, who had his first hit of the series in the 8th inning and scored what was then the go-ahead run. But Sheridan's pinch homer in the 9th tied it, and the disputed run in the 10th has given Quisenberry the slimmest of leads to work with. Base hit.
He can throw.
Here comes Sheridan's throw. Williams wanted to stop him. He's safe.
Mosby gets a low sinker. Sheridan charges the ball well on the slick turf. Makes a good throw. Jimmy Williams, with Bell coming up, may have been holding the runner Fernandez. Look at the good jump he got off second base.
Watch Williams.
He
puts up his
hesitated.
left arm, not both arms.
No.
Well, you couldn't see him there.
I think he went down the line initially, thought he was going to hold him, and then he kept him coming. But he went way up the line. A good piece of coaching by Jimmy Williams. When you've got a base runner like Fernandez, who with a good jump like that, and he cuts the bag like he did, you'll send him. Bell's already run through a stop sign in this 2-game series. Mosby comes through. They're throwing a lot in the field in right field, and the umpire, Davey Phillips, has asked for time and a PA announcement. Dick Howser had a choice. First base is open. Walk. Mosby, even though he would put the leading run on, Tony Fernandez scores the tying run, and we've got a great ball game. It gets better and better. It gets away.
Throw gets away. And now Mosby's in scoring position.
Kansas City has not played a good first game, nor have they played a good second game.
Well, that's all Balboni.
Yep.
The throw is chest high, and it just goes off the top of his glove.
Be the third error charged to the Royals.
And it is charged to Balboni. Bell with Oliver on deck. Breaking ball swung on and missed. In April, George Bell won a game against Kansas City with a 10th inning homer off Dan Quisenberry.
This guy's a good low ball hitter. He's already gotten a sacrifice fly in the 8th, deep to right center field.
In the air to center. Wilson started back, now comes in and gets there. Boy, did that fool him, and the wind may have pushed it down a little bit. In any case, he was able to get there.
Al Oliver, Johnson started in the cleanup spot. Cliff Johnson, the designated hitter. He left for a pinch runner. Lewis Thornton in the 6th. It's the inning that a base hit by Barfield, 3-2, scored 2 runs to tie it at 3. Oliver DH'd in the 8th. He flied to center field. First base is open. Barfield, a right-hander, scheduled next hitter.
And that's all this conversation is about. Who do you want, Oliver or Barfield? Quisenberry is the ace. There's nobody in the bullpen. This game is his. Fernandez, who scored the tying run.
Fernandez also has come up with 2 outstanding defensive plays during the ball game that may have shut Kansas City down a little bit early. And a pitch to him.
A wicked breaking ball swung on and missed. Oliver in his 18th season, a .304 lifetime hitter.
Out in the outfield, the Seagulls are getting very troublesome. They're lighting all over the field and getting in people's way.
They feel safe knowing Dave Winfield isn't here.
It's their time of day to come home to roost.
That thing seemed to hang out over the plate for an eternity.
I can't tell if those are his knuckleballs or not. He does throw a knuckleball.
Oliver tried to wait on it and then almost screwed himself into the ground, taking his cut.
A 60-mile-per-hour changeup or knuckleball.
The 1-2 pitch. Quisenberry, who for years has relied upon what he calls his Peggy Lee fastball. Is that all there is? That's what the hitters sometimes walk away thinking. But he's fooled them for 5 or 6 years now. Again, the 1-2. Outside 2-2.
Was that a pitch too close to take? Wow. Where it was all but unhittable.
That might do it. The throw from Smith. The Blue Jays win it. Mosby scores, and they'll take a 2-0 lead to Kansas City on the Al Oliver base hit.
The Blue Jays didn't quit after they thought they got a bad call on the ball in center field. Jimmy Williams says, come on, they've been running on the outfield arms in this series. So they come back. Some misplays help them out again by the Kansas City Royals defense.
We give the light beer from Miller Player of the Game to the entire Blue Jays squad and to their fans. So a check for $1,000 in the name of the Blue Jays goes to help fight multiple sclerosis. The only consolation for the Royals, the noose is not quite as tight as it would have been in past years if this were a best out of 5. There's still time to regroup. For Tony Kubek, I'm Bob Costas. See you Friday in KC.